Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host. And I had scheduled this to talk about Donald Trump's press conference that is going on live. But unfortunately, the conference seems to be unending. As you can see, he's continuing with it. And
Go ahead, please.
and
Thank you, Mr. President.
I
You said earlier today
so you can listen to bit of it if you like, but uh, uh,
Americans want U.S. forces home.
Correct.
What's that
If
trade-off?
I had my
Does it
choice,
take too
if I had my
much time?
choice, yeah, because I'm a businessman first. With Venezuela,
so Trump press conference is going on unending. The key issue really we expected was whether he would make any announcement about the press conference about his decision to go forward. So there's some good news here, and the good news is that the negotiations seem to have entered a very serious phase, to such a serious stage that even Donald Trump is keeping his mouth shut about the negotiations, and he's not making any threatening noises or otherwise. So when he was asked questions about that, he said, I can't talk to you about a ceasefire because the negotiations are in process. And so the deadline is still 8 p.m. tonight, and on Tuesday, 8 p.m., and otherwise he's going to start bombing them. So there is about a 24-hour window for this whole deal to come through. But it is apparent from his posture and his discussion there's something serious going on. He the whole press conference was essentially about how wonderful the U.S. military is, and I agree with him that this operation that they conducted to collect the colonel who was the back seat on the F-15, which was shot down, it was just absolutely fantastic. The intelligence, the technology that was used, and the audacity of the whole operation was fantastic. They distracted the Iranians. The Iranians had announced an award for his capture, so even civilians were involved. Apparently, there was a lot of gunfire. They used more than 155 planes in this rescue operation, several helicopters. In fact, it seems two helicopters were also, I think, destroyed in the landing. So it was a difficult terrain. It's an incredible, and I'm sure very soon there will be a Hollywood film about this rescue, and then a copy Bollywood film repeating the same. We will see those things on the screen. But it is kudos to the U.S. military for performing in such a fabulous fashion, even as their generals and their chief of army staff has been fired by Pete Hegseth. The CIA played a very important role in essentially providing actionable intelligence. And so Donald Trump was basically celebrating his general, his director of CIA, Ratcliffe, and also congratulating Pete Hegseth for this operation. And clearly the credit goes to the US military. As I have said, that I think the US military is a brilliant military. So we have perhaps the smartest and the most brilliant officers in the military, and the stupidest politicians that you can find in the world. Let me tell you a little bit about US military officers. So I did my PhD in international relations from Georgetown University. So from 1995 till 2000. And there was a military program, I don't know what it's called, in which there was people who would do 1 year of coursework at Harvard and 1 year of coursework at Georgetown, and then they would go away back to their command, and then they would write their dissertations and then come back and present their dissertation. So I had people from the US Navy. One of my colleagues, one of my classmates in my American foreign policy class was a submarine commander. He was like a giant. I'd never seen such a big soldier in in my life. He was 6 foot 9 or 10 inches tall, over 350 pounds, giant of a guy, but also very, very smart. Because I saw his dissertation proposal, I saw his finished dissertation. So there are lots of US generals who are PhDs in international relations, etc. You find them now even in other countries, increasingly, people who have got their PhDs and have done research and are very thoughtful. So yes, the U.S. military is quite qualified and they perform brilliantly in bringing the soldier back. Absolutely no doubt about it. Because if he had been captured by the Iranians, Donald Trump would be in really, really bad position. He already is in hot water. Now he would be in hotter water because first of all, it would have been a humiliation. Number two, it would be very awkward negotiating with Iran while they had a critical hostage taken during this battle. Uh, so in that sense, for domestic, shall we say, optics, it would have been terrible for President Trump to have a soldier being caught there. So going forward, now he is absolutely not answering any questions about it. But there were a couple of questions that were asked, which really irritated him. One was by the New York Times reporter who asked him that you have threatened to bomb infrastructure, you have threatened to bomb bridges, and you have threatened to bomb power plants. Isn't this, aren't these actions war crimes? And Donald Trump, of course, went on a rant saying, oh, this is a fake news. New York Times has lost its credibility. You predicted that I would lose the elections, but I won the elections. I won every swing state, etc., etc., etc. So he just went on a rant as to how New York Times is, but he did not really answer the question about the criminality of choosing targets which are purely civilian in purpose. He did say, however, that I wish I don't want to do this. I hope I don't have to do this, which means that Iran will accept his deal. Now, it is difficult. At least there's a lot of openness here in the United States. Donald Trump is talking about it every day. The media is quite free. We are writing all openly. You can hear me speak, engage with others, and talk about the United States successes and its failures, etc., quite openly. In fact, there's a whole debate going on all over the world about the United States achievements. But for various reasons. One, because the senior people in the Iranians are being constantly killed by Israel. It is very difficult to have a very thoughtful engagement with the Iranian elite as to what's going on with the war, as to what they are thinking. So, for example, I have absolutely no idea what the Iranian perception is of their vulnerability to the American attacks on there. Uh, so they did shoot down an F-15, sorry, an F-15E, and so they have some anti-aircraft capabilities. But when with over 100 aircraft flying, some of them very low to rescue this pilot, they didn't drop many planes, right? If they had a very robust anti-aircraft system now, air defense system, then they should have dropped a lot more planes and choppers, etc., than they did. So now imagine these same 150 helicopters and planes fly over Iran. They went deep into Iranian territory to get that pilot. So they go around and then they start bombing bridges, power plants. Already Israel is targeted and attacked pharmaceutical factories. So imagine they're going to target anything and everything of value, especially the Israeli intelligence must have documented everything, including ice cream parlors. So they're going to bomb all of that. So what kind of defense is Iran capable of? Yes, Iran can shut down. And Trump actually tried to explain that about the Strait of Hormuz. He says, look, it is very easy to block the Strait of Hormuz by putting a few mines there. That's what he was trying to say, that we have destroyed Iranians' defense capability. So they are helpless, but they still have the capacity to block the Strait of Hormuz because it doesn't take much to block it. So basically, he's saying it is easier for me to bomb the harbors and bomb their airports and whatever facilities they have infrastructure wise than to rescue the Strait of Hormuz. He also ranted against NATO once again, and especially talked about UK, and he said they're coming to see him on Wednesday and they are trying to offer him help. So there are, like, he's saying three things. He's saying, I want help. And then they're saying that what's the use? You guys are so weak, you're useless. You have two aircraft carriers which are too old and useless. That's what he said about UK. So we don't need you. And then he's complaining that they have not helped him. So it's not very clear. I mean, he's trying to maintain a bravado and balance that with a feeling of helplessness that he's feeling and the need that he's feeling to get help, I think. So we will see what happens really in the next 24 hours. I think this is the most critical moment in American this war on Iran, what decision Iran makes. The Iranians have repeatedly signaled that they are not going to compromise on the Strait of Hormuz. Uh, and so, what is it that Donald Trump can offer Iran other than the threat? Look, if you don't agree, we will destroy you. Other than that, oh my God, Donald Trump's biggest enemy, my dog's biggest enemy is here, which is the Amazon delivery truck. So I think he's going to keep barking till that Amazon truck goes. So please bear with me. That is one major challenge is what is Donald Trump offering the Iranians? Is he offering them some kind of sanctions relief right away and say, okay, if you have ceasefire, then I will lift sanctions on Iran? Or if you have ceasefire, then maybe you can collect a toll from the Strait of Hormuz. Or all he's saying is, if you don't have ceasefire, then we will bomb the hell out of you. And if you have ceasefire, we will not bomb anything at this moment because Iranians are worried that they will come back again later and bomb them again. So they are looking for guarantees. So they want an end of war solution, which is kind of permanent. So that is one of the challenges. It's not very clear how the Iranians or how vulnerable do the Iranians feel, or are the Iranians determined? Are the Iranians determined that look, we don't care, we will not surrender to America no matter what. Let them destroy our bridges. Already over 150 ships have been destroyed. Can you imagine the billions of dollars worth of navy that Iran has lost in this war? It won't have that at the end of this war. And their air force is mostly defunct. The air force is not really a factor in this. And they have probably exhausted more than half their stockpile. Sultan, stop it! Half the stockpile of their missiles and their drones. And so I don't know how vulnerable Iran is feeling and what concessions will they make. But one thing is clear that neither Israel nor Donald Trump are gracious winners. So, what they are going to do, maybe Donald Trump could be generous, but not Israel. So, what they are going to do is, if Iranians surrender, they will just humiliate them and rub their noses in the ground. They will say, remove this guy, make this fellow in charge, and so on and so forth. It's like the Arabs as to how they have been humiliated and become servile to Israel. Not only that, apparently, I was just looking at some of the investments that Jared Kushner has made in 2021 while he was in the White House. He quit it and he started apparently a private equity firm called uh, Affinity Investments or AUM, Affinity something. And most of the money for that initially came from Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar, close to $5 billion or more. And all that money is being invested in Israel and in the United States. So the Saudi and UAE and Qatari money is going into investing into Israeli firms. So that is humiliation, right? You are in a state of conflict with Arab. Not only are you forced to make peace with them, sign the Abraham Accords, but also give your money for their development and for their investments. I hope that the Arabs are making some profit from those investments. If they're not making any profits, one thing is very clear from SEC that the securities, the federal government agency which looks at investments, is very clear that Jared Kushner is apparently charging millions and millions of dollars in consulting fees. So for example, when you buy a mutual fund, one of the things that you should look at, don't just go by what is the past history of the return. Also look what fees they charge you. And it's usually 1.5% or not much. But here they're charging literally millions of dollars. Jared Kushner is charging them for investing. So yes, that is humiliation, right? The Arabs are forced to first of all make peace with their former enemy, and then forced to invest in those. So that is the kind of humiliation Israel is going to impose probably on Iran if they surrender. And uh, and the terms so far are not very clear. So that is where Pakistan is playing an important role. Well, the role that Pakistan is playing right now is that it is working with the model that the Iranian, Pakistanis, and the Chinese put forward, saying we will have a two-phase peace process where we first have a ceasefire, and then after the ceasefire, we will negotiate towards the end. The Iranians want the Strait of Hormuz and the issue of the enriched uranium to be something that will be discussed in the second phase. I think Donald Trump will be willing to push the uranium part into the second phase, but he might want somehow the Strait of Hormuz to be opened before he declares ceasefire. So, having a ceasefire with Iran still controlling the Strait of Hormuz will appear as if America and Israel have stopped attacking Iran and nothing has changed. So, right now, the simplest way to describe the war is US and Israel bomb Iran. Then Iran bombs Israel or sends rockets and drones at Israel and at the Arab countries in retaliation, and Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz. So, if we have a ceasefire in which Iran is not retaliating to US and Israeli attacks, but still holding on to the Strait of Hormuz, then the ceasefire is just US and Israel not attacking Iran. That's it. There is no, like, what did the US get from this? That is the question that I will be the first person to ask. So, Mr. Trump, what did you get with all your bravado? So, Trump needs to have some way to show that, look, I've destroyed Iran, I've destroyed their missile capabilities, blah, blah, blah. And look, we have opened the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what will Trump give? And I think what perhaps Iran should argue is that, look, before the war, the Strait of Hormuz was open for everybody else except for me, because my oil I could not sell because they were sanctioned. India used to be a big buyer. It stopped buying after 2021, and then India was investing in that. It stopped after the current sanctions, and the same with the rest of the world. It's only the Chinese who have stood up to the US and continue to buy Iranian oil at a discount. So 90% of Iran's oil goes to China. So now Iran could say, okay, let us also sell our oil, lift all the sanctions. We will lift the 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 sanctions on the Strait of Hormuz. So Donald Trump gets to brag about it. But in today's press conference, he was so dismissive about the JCPOA. He attacked Obama and he attacked the peace deal. It was very good that Iran was upholding, and said, oh, he put billions of dollars on planes and sent cash to Iran and this and that. And so he was saying that that was a bad deal because Iran benefited financially. So, will he lift sanctions? Because then people like me will turn around and say, well, Mr. Trump, you were so dismissive about JCPOA, but now you are letting Iran sell oil, and that's billions of dollars of oil for Iran. Iran is also the third biggest producer of gas. It produces more natural gas than Qatar, actually. And once it uses it domestically, but they could sell the gas too, and they could be making at least $100 billion a year from their exports of oil and natural gas. And then if they negotiate some kind of a toll, right now Iran is selling its oil freely, thanks to the fact that Trump lifted the sanctions in order to bring the price of oil down, which I checked an hour ago was at $111 for the Brent oil. So the oil price has not gone down, it's gone up. And not only that, but Iran has blocked others from selling their oil. And it's not very clear whether Iran is collecting toll from the ships that it has allowed. So there are two kinds of ships that are going through the Strait of Hormuz. One, Iranian ships, which are carrying Iranian oil to China. And then they are allowing some ships, like they allowed 4 to 6 ships for India. They are allowing 2 ships per day for 10 days for Pakistan. and Philippines has negotiated some deal with Iran. So there will be some ships sailing through the Strait of Hormuz for Philippines. Now, what is not clear is whether Philippines is going to pay the $2 million ship toll, or like what is their arrangement with with Iran. That is not yet clear, but they have managed to negotiate a deal. Uh, the French have got one ship, I think, one or two ships. So the French ships have also sailed. Did they get a deal? Uh, that is not clear. So that particular part is not yet clear whether these ships which are sailing, are they paying a toll or not. And the toll, even though it's $2 million, it's not to be paid in dollars. It has to be paid in yuan. So one more thing that Iran has been doing is trying its best to do de-dollarization as much as possible. So this is where we are at the moment with this deal. Donald Trump's press conference is very clear. He's talking about everything, attacking NATO, attacking Obama, attacking the previous JCPOA. He also made a very interesting comment when someone asked that, look, you want the Iranian people to be free from this government, you want the Iranians to rise up, but why are you destroying the civil infrastructure? These same Iranians who were under oppression by the Iranian government now are going to have even a terrible life, right? At least right now they have AC, they have heaters, they have electricity, they have bridges. Now you're going to destroy all of that and you're going to make their life miserable. And Donald Trump has responded to that in a very strange way. He said that no, 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 they like it. They want it. They are asking me to bomb more. So he's under the impression that the Iranians want more bombing from the US. And I'm sure this is what the Iranian diaspora here, those close to Raza Pahlavi, that's what they're telling the Trump people. Don't stop bombing. You know, the Arab countries are also being accused. So the Americans are leaking to Washington Post and others that the Arabs are also saying, don't stop bombing, destroy the regime completely. And the Arab countries are saying, no, 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 we're not saying that. In fact, the only country which has really gone forward is Qatar, who has said, look, we don't want American bases. We're going to end it down because they're really worried that Iran will destroy them. But Trump is not worried that the public opinion in Iran will turn against the US if their bridges and power plants are gone. I don't know, really, frankly. There's no surveys. I saw the only survey that people are cited. I did a whole show on that. You can go back and look at it. Just search on my channel 89, do 89% Iranians are they against the regime? And from that survey, I can tell you, I took the survey at its face value, and that is not what it is saying. It's saying lots of things, that there is a 20% support for the regime, and there is nobody enjoys more than like 20-25% support to anybody else. So the Iranian crowd is entirely divided. Some want democracy, some want monarchy, some want to keep the regime, some are not clear. So there is a lot of diversity in the viewpoint and confusion in the way the Iranians are thinking, at least from that survey. So I have taken screenshots of the survey. The survey was conducted by internet. You had to have access to VPN to be able to answer those questions, and the investigators were sitting in Netherlands. And so methodologically itself, there are lots and lots of problems to take that survey seriously. And then that survey was done in 2024, not since the attack by Israel and Iran on Iran's nuclear facilities last June, and not after what has happened now. Like, there's no survey now that tells me what are the Iranians thinking. I don't care about the Iranian Americans. They are not going to go back to Iran and live in Iran without electricity and without water and without bridges and without schools. They're going to be sitting here in America and tweeting about it. That's it. So we should not take their opinion more serious. Those people who have to live under those circumstances, plus with a much nastier version of the IRGC, because I can tell you this much, that the moderates have been killed and marginalized, and so the more hardcore people have taken over Iran at the moment. So that's where we are. So anyway, thank you for watching Khanversations. Like this video, press the bell icon, think of becoming a member of Khanversations, And now I will take some of your questions, especially from members. I can see there are some members here and others too. As long as you have serious questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So SMS India says, Khan Saab, I was waiting for your update. I hope you found it useful. Donald Trump has not said anything about the ceasefire, but he has said a lot about a lot of things. It's still going on, I think. Dalendra says they are fantastic and losses is more fantastic. Yes, the operation was fantastic. I don't know what the losses were. There was no lives lost. There were a couple of helicopters, I think, lost. They said it got stuck in the sand. So rather than rescuing them, the US itself destroyed it. That's the official line. But I'm willing to believe that maybe the Iranians downed those things, but they did not kill any pilots. Or there were some A-10s that were shot, but the pilots landed safely in safe countries. One, I think, landed in Kuwait. Uh, I did not see that, Sheetal. I did not see that video. Uh, do Arab states really have any meaningful role to play in Iran-Israel war, or is there? Well, so Dubai has no oil. Dubai became rich. One of the reasons why Dubai became very rich is because of the sanctions on Iran. So once the sanctions were imposed on Iran, Iran could not buy anything, Iran could not sell anything. They can't sell their carpets, they can't sell their food, whatever they were manufacturing. And they could not import even medicine because they were in deep trouble. So Dubai became a reseller. So people sitting in Dubai would buy oil at cheap price from Iran, and then they would sell it on the international markets. Not just oil, but whatever they needed. Then they would buy stuff from overseas and then sell. So a lot of people, including a lot of Iranians who were settled in Dubai, started making a lot of money, and Dubai began to get very rich. So one reason, I mean, there are lots of other reasons why Dubai has so much investments and money, but one of the key elements is the sanctions on Iran, which have hurt Iran but benefited Dubai. And then there are a lot of corrupt people in Iran who have taken advantage of the sanctions to become very filthy rich, and some of them are members of IRGC and the Iranian government themselves. So for Iran, Dubai was a good reselling point to bypass the sanctions. Other than that, I think at the end of the war, there might be some pressure from Iran for the Arab countries to help in reconstruction. And I don't know whether they'll be successful in basically forcing the Gulf countries to invest in Iran. I don't know what's happening. But remember, Iran will be a great place to invest if there is a final deal, sanctions are lifted. It is one of major producers of oil, the third biggest producer of gas. If you go and look at my video on who are the top producers of oil and gas, which I did 2 days ago, you will see that Iran is the third biggest producer of natural gas. Uh, I know. US is a militarily very powerful country, but the US is not learning that military power is not easily translatable into political victory. They failed in Afghanistan. The Taliban are still in charge after 20 years of US war and occupation, and Iraq is now aligned officially with Iran in this war. So they failed in both places, you know. SMS has lots of points to make. Uh, uh, let's see what's happening. Oh, here's Nadia Siddiqui. She's also a member. Let's see what she said. What happened to Lebanon asking France or maybe some other country in Europe? Nobody's going to help. I mean, the Europeans, with all their talk of human rights and values, they continue to support Israel. Canada, Germany, France, they provided a lot of weapons to Israel. Yes, now countries like Ireland and Norway to some extent and Spain have been very critical, but not substantively. Spain is not going to send soldiers to go and protect Lebanon from Israel. And none of the Arab countries are either doing that. So, yes, they are helpless and they are stuck. They are victims of their geography, and sadly. Uh, are we going towards recession in the US? Well, recession means that two continuous quarters of negative GDP growth, Nadia. So the US growth was about 2.5% the last quarter. And they are saying that if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed for say another month or two till June, then there will be the price of gas has gone up, which means there will be inflation. So inflation might reach 4% instead of 2.3 or whatever it is right now. That is going to hurt Donald Trump a lot in the midterm elections. The question is, as inflation goes up, it has a negative impact on the GDP growth. So the US GDP will shrink. Now, the question is, will the growth rate go down from 2.5% to 1% or 0.5%, or will it go down to negative? So if it goes down to negative, then we'll have to see which quarter. I don't think the immediate quarter, January to March quarter, is not going to be that badly impacted because the war, even though it happened all in March, the US was doing very well in January and February. So the two quarters you're looking at is April, May, June, June, July, August, or July, August, September quarters. So in October, November, we will look at the data and we will hopefully before the midterm elections, if those two quarters the US has negative growth in GDP, then you will say that we are in recession. The stock market is not fallen much. Lots of people are worried about it, that it had reached 50,000 in January on the Dow Jones index and then dropped to 46,000. So people are saying, okay, we lost 8% on it. So it's at 46.6. And so if you look at the last 6 months, you can see there's not much of a drop. But if you look at the last 1 year, the stock market is better today than it was last year. So you're not losing a lot of money. You would just have lost money that you could have made this year. So let's say you had $1,000 in your stocks last year, and you were hoping to get 4 to 5% growth. Then you would say, okay, 1 year later, I should have 1,000. If you had 1,000, you should say $1,050 or something. Like 5% growth on that is what you would have expected. That would be $50. But instead of having $1,050 in the bank, you will still have $1,000, which means because of the 4% inflation, your $1,000 in the bank are actually worth $960. So even though in numbers you are at the same level after 1 year because of the state right now, but in real terms you've lost about 3 to 4% of your wealth in the stock market. So if the stock market grows at 3%, so if you had $103 adjusted for inflation, you would be where you are. So that's the best I can explain. So individually, people will either not gain or lose some, but the economy could suffer, but we will have to wait till September, which means that this war goes on and on and on for 5 6 months. But look, the way the wars have gone on with the especially the war with Ukraine, nobody thought that it would. Now it's in the fifth year, right? And Russia is making a lot of money because of the war in Iran, and so Russia is going to be flush with cash, and so it is less willing to compromise. And if this war doesn't end, then Donald Trump is going to be so distracted with what's going on in Iran that he'll have no time to spend on Ukraine issues. So for the Russians, it's win-win-win. You know, uh, no one is looking at Syria. Not many people are looking at Lebanon, at least also. So yeah, lots of things. People have forgotten about Gaza and the West Bank. There's lots of violence the Israelis are committing both in the Gaza and West Bank. There's Shalender Nakpal. So how do you see the next few weeks? Will it lead to the huge disruption? Some sanity prepared? What do you foresee? Well, you don't have to wait for a week. We will know tomorrow. We will know by tomorrow night, 8 p.m., as to what is going to be the situation. Donald Trump is saying this by 8 p.m. tomorrow, if Iran doesn't ceasefire is not agreed upon, then I'm going to bomb the hell out of Iran. And that bombing is going to last 2 to 3 weeks. So it is quite possible. The Iranians have always been very slow to, to get. Plus, right now, just getting to them, communicating to them is very difficult. So Pakistan is primarily shuttling between the two of them, but we also have some information that it is possible that Witkoff is also texting with Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister. So Steve Witkoff and the Iranian foreign minister are also communicating. The Iranians have rejected both Kushner and Witkoff and said these guys didn't even understand that we made a very good offer. So I don't know why he's texting with Steve Witkoff. He should be texting with JD Vance or maybe even Rubio. I don't like Rubio on this issue. JD Vance is the best bet for Iran on this issue, and he has the ear of the president just as Steve Witkoff has. So it's interesting that I don't think I saw JD Vance at the press conference. Neither Rubio was there. But what we really need to know, we'll know tomorrow. So Donald Trump has really bragged so much. He could be in trouble if the Iranians said no. Then he has no choice but to bomb. So he will bomb. There will be some bridges and some power plants that will be bombed, and Iran will retaliate, and we have the war going. And Trump is at a loss because he himself has conceded that I can bomb the hell out of Iran, but I can't open the Strait of Hormuz. So if Iran decides to sacrifice its infrastructure and hold on to the Strait of Hormuz and not surrender, then Donald Trump is at a loss. And that's where we are. This could continue endlessly. The real question is how much capacity for pain does the Iranian government and its people have? And let me tell you that it's a lot. It's a lot. Don't go by these Iranian Americans. They're not real Iranians at all anymore. They've given up their values, they've given up their religion. So the people in Iran are very different from the people here in the US. And these people will not even go back to rebuild their country once it's destroyed. So I hope Donald Trump is listening to people who are there, not here. And if he destroys them, then they'll probably hate America a lot more. They may hate their own government, but they're not going to love the United States. Look, let me give you a simple example. If I lose power, okay, I'm using electricity and all of this. If I lose electricity, if I lose internet, I'm going to be so pissed. I cannot tell you. All right. Can you imagine if I'm not able to do my show, if I'm not able to scroll the internet, if I'm not able to do work because somebody comes and bombs the hell out of me? I'm going to be so mad. And I'm going to say, what the heck? I can't even do my work, nothing else. There's no internet, no Wi-Fi, no computer, nothing. What can I do? Well, the only thing left for me will be to pick up a gun and go attack the country that is attacking me. That's all I would probably have left to do. So I don't think that people whose lifelines are destroyed, whose jobs are going to be destroyed, whose life is going to be ruined because all electricity is gone and they're going to be living in Stone Age and they're going to be happy with Israel and the US. How stupid and dumb and brain dead you have to be to believe that. And what rubbish talk about freedom. We don't have freedom in the United States. Just yesterday, a professor at the University of Washington was fired because he was critical of Israel. That's not freedom. We are shutting down, we have destroyed Ivy League schools because students there were protesting against Israel. It's genocide in Gaza. That is not. And let me tell you, my channel is a very small channel, okay? I don't get like 100,000 views, a million views, or anything like that. Otherwise, I would be a very rich guy. I would have moved to some island, used a Starlink, and then done my show from there. Just because I average on, I have two channels now, one which is blocked in India. Indian government is so insecure that they blocked even my channel, which at that time was getting 30 to 40,000 views per show. So my main channel, which is Conversations with Professor Muqtada Khan, was getting 30,000 views per show. I was doing one or two shows, and that is blocked. So that channel now gets 3 to 5,000 views because you can't see it in India. So people from the US and UK and Australia, mostly my students and media people here in the US, a lot of policymakers, they watch that channel. It's the same show, but it's a different. And on the Indian channel, you can go and see, if you're watching this channel, you can go and see I'm averaging like 15,000 views. So per day, I average 20,000 views on one when I do two shows, and the other, I average about 10,000. So I'm doing 30,000 back to it on two channels. So I'm not a threat. So I'm able to say what I want. But if I that 30,000 becomes 300,000 or 3 million, then they will come for me too. I can tell you that, no doubt about it. Okay. So there is freedom in the United States, but the freedom is limited. So a lot of people in Iran have freedom. They can say whatever they like about Israel and Iran. The only thing that they can't say is in Iran, you can't criticize your government. You can criticize the whole world if you like. You can write whatever you like about NATO, about Israel, about Zionism, about the Arabs. You can talk about India, and you can talk about everything in Iran except the Iranian government. And in the United States, you can do the same thing. You can write and speak and talk about anything and everything under the earth except Israel. The only difference is that the danger is not as severe. Okay. There are lots of people who have been deported, students, etc. We still have courts who are far more serious in the US. Look at the Supreme Court. They told Donald Trump to go jump on the issue of tariffs. I think they will go and tell him to go and jump on the issue of birthright citizenship also. So yes, we are more democratic, and there is still freedom in the United States, thank God. But the freedoms, you have to be also brave to access that freedom here in the US. I know lots of people who are shit scared to say a word. I was on a panel with 4 professors, and I was the fifth and the last speaker. They spoke for 1 hour, roughly 15 minutes each, and none of them said a word about Israel or Israeli lobby, as if this war had nothing to do with Israel, as if Israel didn't exist on planet Earth. In fact, the opening remarks that I made was, well, I live on a different planet from all my colleagues. I live on a planet called Earth where there's a country called Israel. So yes, why are they scared to talk? Because they know that there is limited freedom in the US. There is no freedom in Iran to talk about the Iranian government. Agreed. You can talk about anything else and everything else. In the United States, you can talk about everything else, but there's limited freedom on the issue of Israel. That's the difference. It's not as if absolute freedom here and no. So, would you sacrifice your entire life just so that you can say bad things about the government of Iran and Israel, or not wear a hijab? Is that it? That's all you're going to get. You're not going to become rich and powerful. So, I'm not very sure about this whole talk about, oh, they all want to die for freedom. No, they want a good quality of life. And the good quality of life includes access to good education, good healthcare, good wealth. Yes, dollars matter, but that's not all. What's the point of having money in the bank if you're unhealthy? And what will you do with money if you're stupid and uneducated? You don't know how to spend money. Anyway, so I hope you found this conversation interesting. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon. I had promised people from India that I would be doing a video on Bihar, and we have done that. 2 very distinguished economists have come. We have recorded this. As soon as I get off this, I have to have my lunch, and then I'm going to read a dissertation from a PhD student. It's going to take a couple of hours. After that, I'll get tired of reading that. Then I'll go back and edit that Bihar video, and inshallah, I will post it at midnight my time here, which means tomorrow 9:30 a.m. it will do. I have fabulous, you know, stuff in it, and I can, if you are still here, I can see if I can preview the data. The I worked very hard on this Bihar thing. Let me see if I can. No, I can't. I don't have the PowerPoint open. But we have worked our data. We have data about nearly everything about Bihar that you can see. We have data about Bihar's not just GDP strengths, its weaknesses, about Biharis who are migrating out of Bihar. We have comparative data between states. So I'm comparing Bihar with 4 states. I'm also comparing Bihar with a couple of countries which are of that size. And the input from both the economists is wonderful. So it's very exciting. So I hope that Prashant Kishore gets to see this video. We will send a link to him. We will also send it to the chief minister and the governor of Bihar and other members. So we'll see. In fact, I'm planning to do a series now on different Indian states, and I will also probably do a few series on American states. I want to see the difference between blue states and red states. Like for example, in India now, there's a huge difference between the wealth of states. Like Bihar's per capita is 800, and Telangana is 4,900, close to 5,000. So Telangana is 6 times richer than Bihar. So yes, there's a huge disparity within countries as there is between countries. Anyway, so I'm still excited about that video. So thank you for watching. Please become members. Some of you have joined as members. I'm traveling this week. Otherwise, I was going to schedule a members only Zoom conference, but inshallah, as soon as I come back to home, I will do a Zoom conference with all the new members and get to know all of you. Thank you for watching Khanversations. Take care. Bye.